All right, I've got the warheads, I've got the submarine, the chicken sandwich, and the 15 orphans all set up. I think we're ready to go. Oh, hi, hey. I was just about to play some extreme checkers, but I have a sudden urge to tell you all about Tribe 9.
Tribe 9, oh boy, Tribe 9 is an anime, this much is true. It's also a show about baseball, fairly wacky baseball at that. Kind of extreme baseball, perhaps EB for short, huh? Well, thank God the writers are good at making things that are cool, so it's actually shortened as XB. XB is like baseball, but really big and flashy, where rules barely matter and soul beats everything. Are there even rules in Tribe 9? Who knows? Tribe 9, an anime by Lin Films as part of Tokyo Games' newest multimedia project, exists. There's a bunch of other stuff that is being planned, being a multimedia project, but I won't touch on that. I'm only here for the animation part. When you think of works by some of the heads of Tokyo Games, Kodaka and Uchikoshi for example, you think of games with either bombastic settings or storylines, like in Danganronpa or Zero Escape. And while they may sometimes miss the mark, you can still feel they threw a heavy hit. Maybe a plotline doesn't work, maybe some characters are forgotten, but they've never had a mess that never worked, with characters that never mattered. Is what I would say until Tribe 9 came around. Okay, not a game, and so far I've been a little mean, but I'll get there. You see, my deal with Tribe 9 is that this anime is coming after Akudama Drive, what may be one of my favorite anime of all time. Plenty of people have talked about Akudama Drive, so you can either listen to them and then watch it, or skip listening to other people's opinions and watch it. To make it quick, Akudama Drive had it all: a sick setting, an entertaining cast, emotional character arcs, a satisfying ending that stuck the landing with a 10. Its villains, while pushed aside just a bit in the second half, never felt forgotten in my heart, as the stellar first half had them kicking ass so hard, sometimes you want to root for them instead. And then you get Tribe 9. How do you get Tribe 9? They are literally in Neo Tokyo. Come on, you're step 1 to Coolsville here. What I want to make clear is that I came in wanting to love this show, and I left still trying to. In a word, I would say I'm disappointed in Tribe 9, and I hope I can explain why without seeming like an XB a-hole. I will say it now that I do not label myself as the kind of guy to jump on a hype train, and in fact, I did not even know this anime existed until I saw an episode discussion on Reddit. With this evidence, I would like to clear myself of holding any overhyped expectations. Now, how we got to this point in the story doesn't really matter, but it's basically the classic setting of fights breaking out between what here are called tribes, and these fights getting so bad that XB, remember Extreme Baseball, was created to regulate these fights. The effect of this is that instead of stabbing and shooting rival tribe members, you can now punch or run them over if you like. You can also still shoot them. There is no way anybody can see the idea of XB and not be hyped. Extreme Baseball, it erupts with techno-cool, the mall ninja toys of a different timeline, where we decided to embrace the cringe. You have these beam bats that aren't explained in any kind of way, and that's just fine by me. They glow up and electrify the ball, sending it miles away. Why would I want to know how that works? Knocking back pitches like a game of Lethal League and having a city as your grounds instead of a baseball stadium? You better believe the first game of episode 1 had me hootin' and hollerin'. Unfortunately, talking about Tribe 9 means talking very little about XB. For its central premise, it barely makes any attempt to make most games actually interesting or even possible to follow. What's so hard to follow? It's baseball, but with some extra style points. We all know baseball, don't we? Well, you don't know XB, and I'm not sure anyone really does. Watch, you may say. Why do you care so much about the game with lightsabers for bats having a proper entertaining setting? Let me answer your question with another question. Just listen. I'm going to drop what I think is the biggest flaw in all of XB. The biggest flaw being that most people are using their own 2 feet to get around a whole freaking city. What should be the biggest and funnest rule in XB is that pretty much anything goes between the runner getting to the base and being tagged out. Fights can reach almost any level of horrific violence in the pursuit, or with the excuse, of tagging out the batter. What this means is that the largest focus of entertainment is not so much on the average players, it's in the fights and the home run knockouts of the god players. I do not mean this only to mean us as the audience of the anime, but also the viewers in the show itself that tune in to watch games of XP. What it seems to look like occurs in a game of XP is that you have regular baseball, but now you have to watch someone jog for 15 minutes to the next base with the hopeful payoff of a fist fight. Yeah, to state again, this is supposed to be essentially legalized gang warfare. My thing here is, how are you going to have all this cool tech around and decide that something with wheels is too lame to use? There's even a team, Adachi Tribe, that use bikes, and while I get that's supposed to be their thing, guess what? They can't get off their bikes. Yeah, the bikes are their shoes, so getting off their bikes would be against the rules. There goes any hope of a knockout brawl. See, Tribe 9 shows up with these weird rules that only exist to create gimmicks for other teams. Rules that end up only hampering how much cooler and fantastical the anime could have been. Imagine if everyone had inline skates or bikes they could fist fight like a figure skater, or get their bike knocked out in a fiery explosion. The loss of the ability to be extra downgrades the enjoyment of the sport as a whole. This might be a bit of a stretch, but the lack of having a speedy, flashy, fair way of traveling from base to base means that there will be zero tension as to whether or not a player will reach a base. The players will always be shown either at the base or never moving at all. Watching two people run for miles, panting and sweating in the middle of all this action would be kind of lame, and in fact, when it happens in the fight against Adachi Tribe, it's used to show how lame they look in this seemingly hopeless battle. The replacement for this lack of pressure is supposed to be the battles at the bases, but these encounters mostly fall flat. The show quickly introduces that there are some god players that make up the best of XP, and when they run, they got that neat trail behind them like they're a light cycle. You know what would make them look cooler? If they were already running laps on people going pretty fast. It goes from taking candy from a baby to taking candy from an antsy kid in a spinny propeller hat.
Okay, so running from base to base doesn't look so fun, but at least you still got those flashy home runs, am I right?
Absolutely not. Tribe 9 does not know if it wants to be a hype, make-believe baseball anime or a rough and tough fighting anime and won't commit to either. Tribe 9 wants characters to have huge baseball moves, it wants players to throw heavy punches, but I believe Tribe 9's greatest weakness is that it believes it has to dole these scenes out sparingly, lest it diminish its impact. The first big fight scene is with Ojiro, the bad guy, versus Kamiya, the good guy. And they show off this, pardon my French, absolutely kino battle, where Ojiro demolishes the guy that has been constantly stated as the best, the very best, XP player in Tokyo. I'm talking curb stomped. Look at the battle in episode 1 with Shinagawa Tribe versus this fight with Ojiro. It's night and day. Honestly, the one and only moment of tension in this entire anime, so if I ruined it for you, please be assured there is nothing left. So, what happens after this? Well, Kamiya dies, which is a huge bummer, but mostly because we are now left with our two main protagonists. Oh, man, I really don't want to talk about these guys. I think I have a case for false advertising against Tribe 9 because they advertise their page with a god player that can hit railgun speed baseball pitches, and what ends up delivered are a bunch of chumps that couldn't hit a ball with their eyes wide open. I've been a bit quiet on the actual character and plot part for a reason, and that reason is I would like to not dedicate more space in my limited synapses thinking about it. So after the death of the only decent player on the good guy team, Minato Tribe, the show actually becomes the slowest sludge of the season. No longer are matches won by annihilating the enemy spirit with pure brute force or even the rule of cool. Now it's won by doing the high jump. I forgot. Have I mentioned Haru? Haru is one of the protagonists in this anime where his superpower is being able to dodge people. Now, while I'm always a fan of guys with high evasion, so long as they actually hit back. The saying doesn't go float like a butterfly, sting like sour candy.
Oh.
Haru isn't even cool enough to justify being this lame. Every episode, the plot resolution comes from his friend saying, "Just be confident, bro," and him going, "Huh, why don't I think of that?" Perhaps the blandest character with a Komatsuzaki's design I've ever seen. There's barely enough personality to be annoyed at his faults, and not enough to feel proud at his victories. Now, Taiga's role as the other protagonist, he plays the fiery redhead. That's stupid. Stupid and really strong. Stupidly strong, one might say. I'm a guy that loves characters that only do one thing until the end of time, but they need to be good about it, while also in a show that knows what to do with them. Taiga's a born and raised fisherman. This is the explanation for where his strength and stamina comes from. In his first try swinging up his bat, he gets this really kind of cool swing where he hits a pitch as if you were pulling up a big fish. Honestly, I thought it was going to be his nice, cool little shtick. Oh boy, but why would Tribe 9 do that? Have a guy be useful? So instead, they called it a fluke, and actually he's normally physically incapable of hitting any pitch ever. Taiga soon has a neat little training arc, wherein he learns how to swing so hard that he creates wind currents to blast away the baseball into Kingdom Come. That's pretty cool. At least it would have been if I still cared. He left for several episodes and came back deep into my please, please, please just punch each other part of my timeline watching this show. To talk about other characters that matter, there's a guy named Kazuki. He's this mysterious dude with a sealed right arm that looks like it's harboring some great deep curse or something. He joins the good guy team right after Kamiya's death. Despite being the most interesting character in the show on the basis of being the mysterious guy, there isn't that much to say about him. Go figure. He's a cold smart mouth that eventually loves his found family and then leaves them with no regrets after he meets his old family. It's sweet, really. Most of his characterization, by the way, happens in the last episode, so I would say he'd be worth watching Tribe 9 for if it were the conclusion to like a 90-minute movie and not a 12-episode TV show.
Now the big bad guys, the villains, now that's how you do 1D characters. People that talk about how the strong govern the weak? Crushing Cretans under their feet? Hell yeah, give me more of that.
Now these villains, they either have some sort of wacky reason for it or no reason at all, and Tribe 9 is all about the former. The whole introduction to Ojiro is that he's going around fighting tribes and shattering limbs to the point of irreversible damage. Now that's a scary dude. He's got a backstory and a history with mysterious man Kazuki, all of which is, again, fleshed out in the 5 minutes during the final episode, and it didn't feel like the conclusion to a broad story arc, more like those 30-second elevator idea pitches that business schools tell you to work on. Honestly, I really wish this was a movie or something instead, because it feels like in their effort to leave the coolest moments for the beginning and climax, the rest of the anime is just full of dead air. The final episode is what I thought I was going to get after watching the first episode. Here's a bad guy that shoots out lightning fast pitches with an exosuit. Oh, and here's a dude that punches the ball as a pitch, and he's actually a walking god of death? They should have just done that all the time. It would not get old, I promise. The middle of Tribe 9 is like expecting a meaty roast beef sandwich and getting unpressed, unseasoned tofu. And like a dish I didn't order, I'm gonna silently chew on it and complain to my friends about it later. Oh, there's only 12 episodes. What if we spent a whole episode on swimsuit models and never even get close to actually playing XB? Sounds swell. Let's do that after the claustrophobic nightmare of a fight we just had with Adachi Tribe. This is with Adachi Tribe that I've mentioned some issues with game-wise already. So after being shown the grand scale of XB, the ability to play baseball with the whole city as your grounds, the next fight shoves you into a dark, stuffy, nasty, claustrophobic maze of an indoor stadium. I would imagine this discrepancy was to show off the amazing and varied ways XB can change from tribe to tribe, but all it did was make me want to open a window. What I wanted to add was a part about how there are way too many characters, but just as there are way too many words in this rant, they aren't actually worth talking about. Look at the character profiles and you already know their whole personality, which again is a thing I can vibe with, but not when there's a dozen different groups fighting for screen time. They all come together in the final fight for a big Avengers moment, but their only fate was to be beaten to a pulp and run away. Tiny thing that irked me actually, while there were way too many characters, this is one crazy and cute, perhaps crazy cute, girl named Yukigaya Enoki from Ota Tribe that specifically says she'll never leave Taiga's side, that leaves his side. She shows up like twice more on screen, and that's really truly when I lost all my faith in Tribe 9. Also, the OST that I haven't mentioned at all, please look it up. It's gotta be one of the best anime OSTs I've heard in recent memory. By the end of it all, though, I loved how Haru finally got some action in. It's not cool when Haru dodges some random nobody, but it's always cool when someone breezes by a god's fist. I was screaming, please just punch each other all this time, and punch they did. We get some great character resolutions, and Haru can use the lightsaber bat now. The stage is set for a new season of XP where our protagonists are actually good at this game. Too bad we probably won't see it, because if I had to bet, even if a season 2 somehow came around, it would focus on some other tribe, just because. And now we gotta do this thing all over again. And you know what? I'll probably be there with them.
Now my final verdict for the show is that if you like your anime with the caloric efficiency of a gas station donut, well, I just gotta say, I love me a good donut. Thanks for watching.